it's something that you get from this run, and all the runs suddenly makes complete sense of like to really, really work for them, because again, like you're getting these super good cards that like this can be your next best deck that you can build out of it. It's perfect. And compared to something like Survivor.io, where you already know like which deck you're following, you either get it on.
It's 4 a.m. and we're rolling the dice. Matei drops knowledge made of gold and ice. Felix with ads making those coins rise. Jakub designs worlds chasing the sky. We're the 2.5 gamers, the midnight crew, talking UA adverts and game design too. Matei, Felix, Jakub bringing the insight. We're rocking those vibes till the early daylight. Matei, UA, master eyes on the prize, tracking data through the cyberspace skies. Felix stacks dollars like a wizard in disguise. Jakub's crafter realms lift us to the highs. 2.5 gamers talking smack. Slow hockey stick, got your back. Ads are beautiful, they light the way. Click it fast, don't delay.
Hello, this is 2.5 Gamers again. Another solo episode that we're gonna do today. This will be pretty hardcore one, because what I want to talk today is pretty much the state of roguelite games. Not only, like, I would say the next evolution rather than the state. Yeah. Because I've been tinkering with this for quite some time now, pretty much searching for some answers and going around few games and some solutions where I really like the roguelite genre. We all know it's extremely popular, just as we covering pretty much a roguelite game every single month now, from like, I guess, start of Survivor.io or Vampire Survivors. Yeah, so this genre definitely not going anyway. The big question again, of course, is how it's gonna evolve. Yeah, I've been saying this for quite some time, but again, just want to kind of do a solo one on this, because yeah, this is getting finally getting streamlined, and we'll see. Anyway, let's go and get into it. What we have in mind. So the main problem, in my opinion, with the whole genre, if we go, let's say, one of the most typical examples of a roguelite game would be Survivor.io, really the big one that really, which is pretty much the, yeah, layman's terms, mobile version of Vampire Survivors, where you have our hero. It's this kind of shoot 'em up setup. The core doesn't really matter in this case. Honestly, what matters is the roguelite system. So we kill the enemies. Maybe let's go a little bit further here. Yeah, so we kill the enemies. There's this kind of repeating XP bar. You collect coins or whatever, these crystals. You level up and you choose some of the abilities. And you do this, you pretty much do your run, pick up your build. Your build is kind of at the same all the time, because yeah, there's randomization and stuff around that, where again these things can change, of course, but in the end you're trying to follow your strategy because your gear is built towards a build. So you're going for, I don't know, this specific setup, this evolution, so on and so forth. You continue, you do your run, you kill the boss or whatever is pretty much at the end, and then you get your rewards, which is, for instance, this. Then your run ends and you need to start from scratch. And the only thing that's kind of the roguelite part, which is like you don't lose everything, you can get some stuff into it, are the resources. That's why it's roguelite, not roguelike, as the game Rogue, which was the one with like you would reset everything, that's it, start from scratch. Yeah, and that's it pretty much. And this is the problem, because there's not enough of a transition of like progression moving forward, the accumulation of stuff. Like, of course, there's resources and everything, but you need to repeat this over and over again. And the worst part for me is that, again, you get to this point where you have this like giant invincible build where you like killing everything, you're super powerful, you work hard for it for like 20 minutes, like 18 minutes, like you see here, and then it's gone. It like goes away. It could be very lucky, could be like only in this part of the run you got this, it's gone. Like we reset that. So this is one of the main problems that I think this kind of genre suffers from. If we continue, because we have one of the biggest answers here on the block, which is Uma Musume. Which Uma Musume does is that as you train the girl, the horse girl, at the end of her year, you get an imprint of the run, and then you can use her in other modes of the game, which is the PvP mode, the daily mode, or whatever mode, multiple. The game is geared towards you creating different kind of imprints of, or like, I don't know even how to call it, but pretty much the thing that you do during your run is saved, and then it's packaged as some kind of character that you can use later, which is that like our all effort, which like, yeah, these takes like 30 minutes to finish, like don't get me wrong, to get through this whole process. Like, it's kind of tiring, even though we go like super fast and skip all the races and everything. So we get this character, all the roles and all the randomness and all the right decisions and bonuses and everything. We get this packaged, and then we can use it later. We can use it as a parent. We can use it in PvP. We can use it in daily missions. We can use it in the cup. The game runs these specific tournaments every month where you get like, again, people literally build these for these specific use cases. Like they go to extreme lengths to kind of get the specific ability, specific stats, everything. It gives so much longevity towards the progression. But yeah, this is the ultimate solution. The problem with the solution that it's extremely complicated. It's a Japanese game. It's one of those few games that actually made it into the Western market in the original form. Yeah, hats off to these guys, but let's not be kidding ourselves. It's very, very complicated. I like it. Lots of people like it, but mainstream market would like it. This is not mainstream material. But the idea and everything, it's great. So if we move forward, let's move to the other game that we just covered recently, which is Cow Zero Nightmare, which currently is faring pretty okay-ish, I would say. They're doing still something like 130, 120 KDA. Of course, there will be a bump, right? I guess during the time you watch this, because there's going to be a new gacha character release. You know, these things, gacha games go in spikes because this is pretty much Honkai style progression. So yeah, that's not that big a problem. Even if you use the active users, it's still kind of stable. Let's not kid ourselves. This is still driven mainly by Japan. So yeah, it's like that's how it is. Not much sense to it. Also, if you go to revenue is still US first, but again, only by a small margin over Japan and South Korea. So yeah, you see the countries are still mainly Asian game. Anyway, but the thing that I want to talk about regarding them, as we didn't really cover in our review of the game that well, is actually how they do the imprints. I think here we have a much more streamlined solution, and we're getting there. It's still kind of hard, again, but we're getting there. I think we're just one step away from Western game implementing it properly. So what we have here is that we have these characters, typical waifus, as always, like nothing related to it. And these characters, this is basically a continuation of Slay the Spire, for those who didn't know. So this is a deck builder game, basically. You have these characters, and these characters have their like starting card stats. So you have your starting cards, you have your other cards, and then like these can evolve, so on and so forth, and then you can change those, so on and so forth. So as you progress during the roguelite modes of the game, which are either not missions, not missions, the chaos one, where you actually deck build your deck. You are able to remove cards, duplicates, like do some like pretty much bread and butter deck building with it. If you finish this run is then saved as save data, and then the save data can be used in all the other main modes of the game, such as main missions, the battle missions, the simulation, which simulation is basically your daily grind for resources. You spend energy here. So if I go here again, whatever this one, you see that I can select the save data of my characters and like pick one that I do. If I go into the missions, the roguelite one, that's the chaos one. If I pick one, you see that I'm not selecting these because these start from the default deck. So we're not selecting that. But again, most of the game is done with the save data, and only few parts, the roguelite ones, are the ones we start from scratch. Even though they are really the most important ones, but like, yeah, let's not kid ourselves. So how this works here. So we have a character that's taken here, and let's go to her save data. So this is again an imprint. Like it's something comparable to Uma Musume. And it's much more expanded because it's not only the deck that you have built there, the cards there, it's also artifacts that you have collected. There are 3 slots, which is very important. But we're getting there. This is pretty much the casual version because, like, yeah, artifacts, we collected those. That's great. Why not? And then there are the cards. As you see, you can have very different combinations of cards. For instance, here we have just 6 cards, which means this deck is much more faster. We have here 8 cards. You see that I basically duplicated some of the cards. Or we can have these. I don't think so. I have it here on this character. Let me maybe show you another character. Yeah, for instance, here we have even 9 cards. And there are even special cards that are neutral, that are outside of this character, like base or advanced cards, and you can add them into your deck, with just numerous combinations and possibilities how to kind of run this. But again, it's this kind of an imprint that you see here. There's many of them, like lots of them. They have this kind of a base rating of how strong they are. So again, the more higher you go, the better they are. Let's go back, and you see how again this can be modified to your like cookie cutter build or whatever. Because for instance, in this one, the one that I'm using currently, I removed a lot of cards from the deck. So for instance, you see that her base cards, I don't have the shield anymore. I don't have this two energy card that like, yeah, it's kind of useless for her, stuff like that. So if we go here, you see that I had this, like, let's say this new one. This is like the evolved version. They call it Epiphany. And what happened, I actually have 2 of those because you can duplicate those. Same goes for this like 0 energy dark. You see they replicated. So what I actually did, I like threw out the shit cards, and then the good cards that I got, I even multiplied, so I can get more of them into my hand, which is perfect. This is how it should be played. So, and again, this combo that I have here, I can then use in different modes of the game because I worked so hard on it. Like it took a lot of time. It took literally like the run took nearly an hour to finish. So if I go again, either in the missions or either in the simulations, yeah, where we go here, for instance, I think there should be some new unlock stuff. Where we are, there we are. Yeah. So if I go here, again, we have the say data tango, and even though it just can have even autoplay, and I can then again use this. So it's extremely valuable, and it's really good that you can, again, this takes like a lot of RNG also, because when I'm building the deck, you need to have special occasions of like the game needs to give you this specific drop of a character. Like again, like it randomly chooses which card to evolve. It needs to drop for your main character. You need to invest a lot of resources into it. Yada yada yada. Like it takes time. It's not just like, okay, I just built this deck and like it's so easy. No, it's not. There's lots of RNG which again prolongs the time until you get the deck. But again, it's something that you get from this run, and all the runs suddenly makes complete sense of like to really, really work for them, because again, like you're getting these super good cards that like this can be your next best deck that you can build out of it. It's perfect. And compared to something like Survivor IO, where you already know like which deck you're following, you either get it or don't, whatever. Here, it's much more like sunken cost fallacy, or basically like you're much more invested into the run, because again, it could be the run that like give you the best cards, or even better than the cards that I have now, which could replace my deck. So you really, really want it to succeed. And again, we have another mechanic of this kind of a roguelite run, imprint, which is a little bit more casualized because it's on different core. But again, it's one of the answers of like we don't reset the build of the character. We can still use it in different like instances of the game and different modes. What we have here, because again, this is Slay the Spire core gameplay, therefore we need to adjust it for it because those are the cards and everything. Yeah, this is just a deck builder. But again, it's not unheard of that, like even in current form, let's say, Survivor IO could implement the same setup. I don't see a problem with it. Like you finish your run, you save it, and then you can use it in different modes. Again, very specific ones only, of course, not the main one or whatever is the progression roguelite one. But you could use it. Like they could use it. I don't see a problem with that. Like they can implement this feature. My guess is that as we go forward, we're gonna see more and more of these, especially for the mobile games ones. Because if we take even like some of the games that have been just trending on the Steam chart that we covered recently, either MegaBong or the Bonk on the roguelite, like what they did with this whole kind of evolution thing here. Yeah, here with this kind of fission, fusion, and evolution, where you collect the skills and like mutate them into it. Again, it's even more advanced what these other guys are doing. But again, they don't save the run. You need to start from scratch always. You get some progression overlap with these characters. They get like unlock new skills, new slots, da 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 da. But again, that build that you last time built, which was the awesome one, the best one, yeah, you can't use it anywhere else. Which in my opinion is like a missed opportunity, because like these things kind of work so well in my opinion. And the best kind of example like why this system is so sturdy and why I think it will be eventually like could become mainstream with roguelite genre, like to have this kind of imprint mechanic pull into it, is again Uma Musume, because Uma Musume itself, like last 6 months, you can see they're pretty consistent. Yeah, it's not anymore 50% revenue outside of Japan. It's like literally 51% revenue inside of Japan. But still, if we go again, it's gacha based, so like these things kind of just come and go. Revenue wise, they're doing pretty well. Let's say last 12 months. But again, let's do 6 months, because like it's just 6 months in the West. That's why. So they do pretty consistently good, like 30 million a month. Yeah, that's perfect. And the active user base is actually increasing. If we go here, yeah. So once the US version kicked in, you can see how it's been faring pretty well. So it's not a problem. It's also, don't forget that the game is also on Steam, where it's still pulling quite serious numbers, where the DAU is pretty stable, something like 20k a day. That's not bad for a free-to-play mobile game on Steam. So yeah, it's getting pretty good traction, and you see how strong this mechanic and the setup is with the game itself, even though the core is, of course, very unique and everything. So Uma Musume is pretty much nearing, 2 billion in overall lifetime revenue on mobile. So, yep, it proves a lot that, like, again, this mechanic just needs to be streamlined. So we are waiting pretty much for Empires and Puzzles to kind of Uma Musume's Puzzle and Dragons. So again, this can be implemented. Like, in my opinion, this could perfectly enrich Habi's template. So you could use those imprints overrun, like all these setups. Like, they don't have a problem with implementing. It's one of the main features there that could work pretty well. Again, can be very casual, but also like just like a different setup of roguelite mode and roguelite genre itself to kind of bring it around of these mechanics. Like if we go again into Chaos Zero, they have it as one of the core features of the game here. It's really, really core. In Uma Musume, I wouldn't say it's like it's also core, but making the girls is still much more important than using them later. You can skip this if you want. Like you can PvP, the events and tournaments, they're kind of more player driven, but the main bulk of the game you can do this. Here, you need to do it even for the main game. Like there's no PvP basically. So it's one more step towards being more prominent of a mechanic and going more to the center of the course. Again, a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more, I guess, casualization, or like making it more easier to understand, probably with a different core. Because like Spire deck building core is kind of pretty hardcore by itself. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm definitely guessing that this is not the last time and the last game that we covered that is using a mutation of this like roguelite imprint mechanic. And I'm guessing that next 6 to 3 months we'll see more. I don't know if RPGs, but like different games using this, because the roguelite is super popular. As I said, we're pretty much covering a new hit roguelite every single month. Either it comes from Steam or it comes from the mobile stores. Habi is having 3 games in soft launch, which are roguelite even now on WeChat. They pretty much turned the Clash Quest, the old killed Supercell game, the puzzler, to roguelite. Like again, so we'll see. There's definitely stuff for iteration, but it's really interesting to me, like how these dynamics kind of continue and evolve some of the genres. Because by doing these iterations, you are able to literally hit gold, like a gold mine. Because again, if you push it very easily, again, you don't need to reinvent everything from scratch. You just reinvent these 20-30% of the game, which creates a completely different game, and that's your biggest USP and advantage. And you break the market like Uma Musume did. So yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely looking forward. This was the update from the roguelite genre and its evolution, and I guess its comic evolution. So again, looking forward to more games and more roguelite games with imprint systems. So let's call it imprint system. That would be like a good genre definition that we'll be definitely covering next year. I'm guessing 2 to 3 games for sure. It's gonna happen. Anyway, this was it. See you on the next one. Join the Slack if you have any questions on this. Feel free to share those or ask me there directly. Happy for any feedback. And yep, see you around. Ciao.